The greatest trick the devil ever pulled wasn't convincing the world he didn't exist. It was convincing the world he was the one trying to solve the crime. Imagine stepping into a dark room to hunt a killer. You are terrified, but you aren't alone. You have a guide, a trusted friend holding the flashlight. He tells you where to look. He warns you of the dangers. He points out the bloody footprints. You feel safe because he is with you. But what if, right at the end, the lights turn on and you realize the hand holding the flashlight is covered in blood? This is the story of a perfect murder, a masterclass in deception that broke every rule of storytelling and shocked the world. It takes place in a quiet English village, but make no mistake, this is not a cozy mystery. This is a psychological war. On one side, an arrogant, retired detective with a mind like a supercomputer. On the other, a cold, calculating sociopath hiding in plain sight. Let me take you to King's Abbot. Let's play a game of life, death, and absolute betrayal.
King's Abbot is the kind of town where everyone knows everyone, and nobody tells the truth. Our guide through this labyrinth of lies is Dr. James Shepherd. He's the village physician, pragmatic, reliable, tired, the kind of man who has seen too much death to be bothered by it. The dominoes begin to fall with a suicide. A local widow, Mrs. Ferrers, takes her own life. But the town whispers that it wasn't grief that killed her. It was guilt. She had poisoned her abusive husband a year prior, and someone in the village knew. Someone had been bleeding her dry. Blackmail. Roger Ackroyd, the wealthiest man in town, was engaged to the widow. On the night of September 17th, Ackroyd invites Dr. Shepherd to his sprawling estate, Fernley Park. Ackroyd is a man hunted. He reveals that Mrs. Ferrers left him a suicide note, a confession, and the name of her blackmailer. Just as Ackroyd is about to open the blue envelope and read the name, the doctor leaves him alone in his study. He locks the door behind him.
An hour later, Dr. Shepherd's home phone rings. A frantic voice on the other end says, "This is Parker, the butler. Mr. Ackroyd has been murdered." Shepherd rushes back to the estate. They break down the locked study door. Ackroyd is dead. The blackmailer's identity is stolen. But here is the impossible puzzle. The butler denies ever making that phone call. So who called the doctor? And why? Enter Hercule Poirot. He's supposed to be retired, growing vegetable marrows in the house next door to Dr. Shepherd. But a mind like his cannot rest. Ackroyd's niece begs Poirot to take the case because the police already have a target, Ralph Peyton, Ackroyd's adopted son, who was strapped for cash and vanished into thin air the night of the murder. Poirot steps into the blood-stained study. He doesn't act like a normal detective. He doesn't care about motives or gossip. Poirot is a human supercomputer, analyzing metadata. He notices anomalies in the code of the room. The fire is burning too low. A single leather armchair has been pulled out, angled awkwardly to hide a small table, and then pushed back. Why would a murderer, in a frantic rush to kill a man and steal a letter, take the time to rearrange the furniture? Flora, the niece, says she said goodnight to Ackroyd at 9:45 p.m. A major problem. The doctor left at 8:50 p.m. At 9:30 p.m., another suspect heard Ackroyd talking to someone in his study. If Ackroyd was alive at 9:45, Ralph Patton is the only one without an alibi. The police are ready to hang the boy. But Poirot's little gray cells are compiling the errors.
Poirot gathers the secrets like weapons. He exposes that the maid is secretly married to the missing Ralph Peyton. He proves the niece stole money from Ackroyd's bedroom to pay off debts, meaning she lied about seeing him alive at 9:45. If the niece lied,
Who was Ackroyd talking to at 9:30 p.m.? A suspect swears they heard Ackroyd's voice through the door. Ackroyd said, "The calls on my purse have been so frequent of late." The police assume it was the killer, but Poirot remembers something. A small detail, a piece of technology. Think of a dictaphone as a 1920s deepfake, a scheduled text message sent from a dead man's phone. Ackroyd had purchased it a week ago to record his letters. Poirot realizes the horrifying truth. No one was in the room at 9:30 p.m. The murderer had turned on the machine, set it to play back Ackroyd's voice at a specific time, and left. A mechanical alibi. That's why the chair was moved, to hide the machine from the door, to make the impossible possible. Ackroyd wasn't killed at 9:30. He was killed much earlier.
Poirot calls a meeting. He looks around the room. He tells them he knows everything. The lies are over. He knows who the blackmailer is. He knows who killed Roger Ackroyd. And to the shock of everyone, Poirot reveals his ace in the hole. Ralph Patton didn't flee because he was guilty. Dr. Shepard found him the night of the murder, convinced him he would be framed, and hid him in a mental asylum to protect him. But Poirot found him. Poirot lays it out. The murderer had to be someone with medical knowledge to stab perfectly through the collarbone. The murderer had to be someone who was alone with Ackroyd just before he died. The murderer had to be the one who stole the dictaphone to hide the evidence. The murderer had to be the one who blackmailed, who drove Mrs. Ferrers to suicide, terrified Ackroyd would find out.
Poirot turns to the man who has been by his side the entire investigation. The man who wrote the very journal chronicling the hunt. Hercule Poirot looks into the eyes of Dr. James Shepard. The guide in the dark wasn't just holding the flashlight. He built the haunted house. Dr. Shepard killed Roger Ackroyd. Why did the phone ring? Because Shepard asked a patient to call him at exactly 10:15 from the train station with a fake medical emergency. It gave Shepard the perfect excuse to break down the door, be the first one to the body, and put the dictaphone back in his medical bag before the police arrived. A flawless, sociopathic masterpiece.
Poirot doesn't call the police. Not yet. He respects the brilliance of the game too much, and he wants to spare Shepard's innocent sister from the public shame of a trial. He gives Shepard an ultimatum. Tomorrow, the truth goes to the inspector. What Shepard does with the remaining hours of his life is up to him.
Shepard returns to his study. He finishes the manuscript, the very book you've been reading. He admits to everything. He has no remorse, only a cold, clinical pride in his own genius. He writes his final sentence, reaches for the poison that Mrs. Ferrars used to kill herself, and prepares to sleep. Agatha Christie didn't just write a murder mystery. She weaponized our own trust against us. She proved that the most dangerous place to hide a monster isn't in the shadows or behind a locked door. The most dangerous place to hide a monster is right behind the narrator's voice. If you survived that mind-bending twist, hit the like button. Have you ever read a book where the narrator betrayed you this deeply? Let me know in the comments below. And if you want to explore more of the darkest, most brilliant stories ever written, subscribe. Until next time, keep your eyes open and never trust the hand holding the flashlight.